When I was a kid, I saw something in a graveyard that made me and a friend flee in terror without exchanging a single word. Oh hey, I'm Otter Pawkit, and this is a real scary story that happened to me. So it was October in Missouri during the 90s. I must have been 6 or 7 years old. A friend and I were with my dad and a friend of his who were playing basketball. The court that we were at was at the bottom of this really big steep hill, and the two of us decided we wanted to see what was at the top. I remember it being a really cool, crisp autumn day. Most of the leaves had fallen off the trees by this point. So all around us were just gray skies, barren branches, and then the floor was just brown that was crunching with every step we took. By the time we were about 3/4 of the way up, I was definitely thinking to myself, okay, this was a mistake. It couldn't have been that big of a hill, but I just remember as a kid, being really tired out by it. And then at the same time, I was starting to get really anxious because my dad had told us not to be gone for too long. But finally, we made it stop, and we were greeted by, it couldn't have been more than 2 feet divider wall about this height. Beyond that were just rows and rows of gravestones. Obviously, a cemetery. I think I had been to a graveyard maybe once or twice before this, so this was only my second or third time seeing one. At this point, I was curious, but I was definitely very concerned about getting back in time. But more than that, I think it was just quiet, like way too quiet. Not that there was a ton of noise coming up the hill, but at least you had the leaves crunching and wind was whistling through the branches. Here it was just silent, like eerie quiet. With no other people around but us two. Just really eerie vibe. I mean, it's a cemetery in early afternoon on an overcast day. It's freaking creepy. My friend really wanted to check it out, so we hopped the divider wall and walked maybe 2 or 3 rows in to look at one of the gravestones. At some point before this, my dad had told me not to stand directly in front of a headstone because it's disrespectful to step on dead people. It makes sense to me. So I just remember I was kneeling off to the right of the headstone reading the inscription. And I remember telling my friend something about don't step on the dead people or whatever little kid me would have said. And he either ignored me or just brushed it off or whatever. I can't even tell you what the gravestone said. I just remember finishing reading the inscription. Now the next part is what I remember most vividly. I glance at my friend to see that he's still reading it. I go to look in the opposite direction down the row of graves we're standing in, and essentially what I see is a floating lantern. It was this sort of boxy container with a light inside of it that was swinging from a chain that is just dangling in the air, like from nothing. There's nobody, it's just the lantern, like nobody's holding this chain. It's just floating in the air. So as this phantom lantern is swinging back and forth, it's also moving towards us.
No! God, please, no! No!
I don't know if I really comprehended what I was seeing in that moment, but I do know that I felt a chill down my spine because I just knew whatever I was seeing was not normal. Like it's just weird. Definitely nothing I had ever seen to that point or really since. I turn around to look at my friend just in time to see him looking past me, and he is now seeing whatever this thing is moving towards us, and the color just drains from his face. His eyes then meet mine, and in unison, we both, without saying a word, bolt over the divider wall, back down that hill so fast that I didn't even have to worry about making it back before we had to go home. I have no idea what we saw that day, and I don't think we ever even talked about it afterwards. And absolutely 100% this could have been a trick of my imagination or just seeing something at a weird angle. But whatever this was, it caused 2 people to, without saying a word, just run. Anyways, I only have a few personal paranormal stories like this, but I wanted to share it because I think this stuff happens to people a lot more often than you would think. If you have any weird paranormal or glitch in the matrix stories, I'd love to hear about them. Leave it in the comments or make a video reply to this. I love talking about this stuff.